Hey, smart authors, welcome back to another episode of the Smart Author Podcast. Today I'm joined by James Kemp, who, if you don't know who James is, you should, because living legend. But James actually operates something that he calls the Sovereign Consultant. And his book is essentially around his model. So today we talk a little bit about his book, his business model that's able to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue with the goal of, I think he said $10 million a year. But the caveat is he's only a two-man operation. So it's himself, the brains, and then his team member who does all the technical side of things. So really cool model. I think you'll get a lot out of today's episode because we overviewed what his model essentially is and how he sells customers to then become clients and how that kind of feeds a reoccurring revenue generating system. And we also talked a lot about book funnels and how we've been able to generate tens of thousands of dollars with his book without even launching ads yet. And then the next steps on how we're going to consistently market that thing so that we can get a scalable operation in place for customer generation into client generation. So enjoy the episode. Can't wait to hear what you think. Hey James, welcome to the show.
Hey dude, how you doing?
Good. Well, I'm really excited for you to be on the show. I think we've been obviously working together in both ways. We're kind of each other's clients in some capacity, which is cool. Although I might be a worse client than you potentially.
Oh, let's not get into rankings. It's all about the journey, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I think what you've done recently with your book has just been really cool to see. I think you've done some really amazing stuff with launching it with an Evergreen model and to a warmer audience. And I know we're getting ready now to kind of put some fuel on the fire with some advertising if we can get over some ad hurdles. But I would love to jump into, a little bit of your past. I know you've had some past success with book funnels and books in general.
Yeah.
And I know, you've obviously got a really big background in marketing and more of a corporate avenue as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The book funnel journey was, I think, really kind of transformational in terms of my viewpoint and the data I collected on what I do now in terms of creating a customer and turning those into clients. Because it was the first time at scale I'd seen how much more valuable a customer was versus a lead. In my career lifetime, I've generated millions of leads, and hundreds of thousands of customers in various, different guises. But the understanding that, a customer is worth 40 times what a lead is, in most cases is it started with the ideas of, if I get someone to give me $5.97 for this book, then this person is much more likely to give me $97, $100, $3,000, $5,000, $50,000. Yeah, so 5.5 years ago, I built a book funnel myself called the Daily Client Machine. And it was the most meta funnel ever. It was how to use a book to generate high-ticket clients. And the book was about the funnel that the book was in. And then it spat out $5,000 and $50,000 clients out the back end. And I saw the power of just, that scale that I hadn't seen for, a long time, and back in my marketing director days when we were put a $20 into Google and know how many how many email addresses we're going to get out the other side and send them lots of emails. So the Daily Client Machine was my first kind of super meta idea of what a book can do in terms of generating a customer, but also gave me a real insight into the different behaviors we have for people in different categories and how we communicate with them, which creates the right expectations when we're marketing and selling because, time matters and how quickly we can get someone to do something or buy into our message or give us money or get a result matters a lot. And books are a big part of that.
So with your daily client machine book, was it kind of a deep dive into, writing a book, building a system around the book to then get clients on the back end?
Yeah. So it was, I think I tested a lot of prices. I've got kind of $5.99, $6.99, $10, I think as low as $2.99 in my head. An upsell, a downsell, an upsell, a downsell, and then, straight into a call booking. And the call booking, on the call, we sold them, a $5,000 kind of, hybrid DIY done with you program, or a $50,000 done for you piece where I outsourced and contracted out the production of a book, and then we built the funnel for them.
Yep.
So it's a very, kind of standard book funnel. I think the difference with, I was at that stage 5 and a bit years ago, where I'd kind of given up on some of the strategies I'd learned, and what I mean by that was that both the book I've written recently and that book were how-to books. They were detailed guides that if somebody took that and had it as a standalone thing, from me, they could actually execute it and get results from. Yep. It was not a bait of like, this is the high concept and I'm hiding everything behind the curtain. It was like, these are the steps I take. This is what I do. This is a template that I post. These are words that I use. This is a landing page that I use. This is an offer. And it had everything in it. And what I found was that in the way that I sell and the way that I present was much more conducive to the way that I operate. I don't do a lot of convincing to people. I'm like, here it is. If you like it, these are ways to get more of it, and these are ways to get my help. And so I've found in the world of how-to books that you get this polarity. You get people who are like ready to go. They've read the book, they've got it, and they're like, I'm going to give you thousands of dollars, and I kind of barely know you. I've just read your book and watched some videos. And then there are people who are like, cheers, bro. Thanks. I'm good. I'm going to do it on my own. And they feel equipped to do that. And with my approach and the way that I operate, that I don't do sales calls. I don't do anything that has closing or convincing or pressure. That works really well for me because I have people who are like, thank you so much for giving me all this value for $10. And then I have people who are going, take my money.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that polarity.
And I don't think we can underestimate the sales cycle as well. And one thing I love about you is just like the content and the consistency of content and whatever the format is, whether, social, organic, or email or whatever. It's like you're very consistent with putting that out. So if someone buys your book today, you'll email them multiple times a week, no matter what. And eventually there's going to be a tipping point where they go, maybe James can help me further. Or, okay, I'm seeing the results that James is providing. Or maybe I'll jump on this workshop because it sounds intriguing. And then it's like they go from a low value customer or lead to then, okay, now they're actually a customer. And then on those workshops, of course, there's opportunities to become clients and, in the follow-up and whatnot as well. And I think that's, for the most of us, like, I'm sure you've even seen this with your numbers, like a lot of your guys maybe attend a few workshops before they become a client of yours. And it's just like, because it's a specific area that they want to get better at, like social media, or like the hybrid offer stuff or whatever. And so, the sales cycle might just take a little bit longer for some people, depending on where they're at.
My model is offer driven, right? And an offer driven model relies on consumption. And what I mean by that is that I want someone to consume the book so they get a good sense of me and my ideas, right? So I do everything I can to make them consume it. The book's really short and it's pretty punchy about, what's in there, etc. Because if I drive consumption of ideas, I maximize something I call total attention time, right? And there's just an amount of familiarity and trust we need with someone and their ideas and how they relate to us before someone will buy anything, right? So when you have an offer-driven or a product-driven approach, you have a slightly different frame than a marketer has when they're just kind of looking at pure data and metrics, which is like, how much is a lead and how much is the acquisition and how, what's the CPM and these things. You're like, how much have I got in front of this person and how much have I been able to give them my ideas? Because I know that if someone watches 10 hours of me, reads my book, comes to a couple of workshops, scans a 50-page Google Doc with step-by-step pieces, they are not only indoctrinated to some degree in my worldview and how I do things and what I believe, they also make great clients because they're ahead of the curve because they've actually started to do the things as well. Yeah. And so one of my tricks of like the reason that my clients get amazing results is they've been getting those results before they even started working with me more in depth. Like they've got that momentum coming into, the syndicate or the circle or my one-on-one work where they're actually already executing those things and we're just tweaking the dials. And then I can have amazing screenshots and wonderful reports of the stupid results that people get working with me because those results have actually been accumulated while we weren't even directly working together, just by consuming, executing on ideas. Yeah. So books and workshops and, different modalities, as I call them, like people have preference of different consumption, just like books, right? Some people are audiobook people and some people are book people. If we prioritize making good stuff and we prioritize consumption, then it naturally leads to the next thing. And naturally is a nice word. It means that the client is ready when the client is ready. And if you wait and if you're patient and you get them to consume your stuff and execute your ideas, you'll by default produce great clients who are ready to go, get great results and stay for a long time. And that is the game over the long term, getting people results and getting them to stay for a long time and continue to define what results are for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. And so I know the book is obviously around becoming a sovereign consultant and the sovereign system. I'd love if you can, give that a bit of an overview here so that, we obviously know what we're talking about, but everyone else might not have that same lens.
Yeah. I mean, the best, I teach what I do and do what I teach. So it's got some downsides, but it's also, the simplest way to do it. So, I basically look at a marketplace and, if we don't look at the individual as a, three classes, if you like. We have clients, who we dedicate time and effort and energy to. We have customers who we've, initiated a transaction with and fulfilled on that transaction. And we have leads, people we've got permission to communicate with them. Clients is, the end point. So I have, 3 levels. I've got 4, but I've got 3 levels of kind of client work. I work with people one-on-one. I have a small inner circle of a dozen people where we get on a call once a week. They've got access and license to some of my stuff. They've got direct access to me in capacity in terms of one-on-one, where they just have closer access to me in closer proximity. And then I have the syndicate, which is, again, maxed out at 100. I have a cap of 100 people on that. They are in a community, they get training, they get all my IP, and then, they get access to me twice a week on group calls. And then I have a community level where people are in a community, they have access to all my training, live workshops every month, etc. So it is a blend between coaching, consulting, and mentorship, but each client has a level of access to me. It's just how close that is and relative to what they pay. A one-on-one client can jump on a call with me whenever, and they can message me on WhatsApp. A community client who's at the other end of that client spectrum can, post a question in the community and I will answer it alongside other members of our community. So clients are people that I put thought into, I put energy into in terms of thinking about their problem, their client's problem, their desires, and help them craft a solution for that. I get clients by creating customers. So, I host workshops for my clients twice a month on a minimum. It's between 1 and 3, but it's a minimum. It's largely twice a month. I sell access to those, for between $100 and $1,200, depending on the length of the workshop and what we're doing. And I invite guests to those. I then invite those guests as customers to become clients. And if I get 100 people there, you may have 90 people who've had a great training. They've got access to the resources for life, for $100. And I've got 10 people there who are like, I like this. I want more of this. How do I become a client? And the offer is. And then, one of the keys to my model, because I am a solo consultant and I'm the person directly responsible for delivery, is only really selling to people who've shown intent. So I only make offers to customers to become clients because those people have shown intent, they've shown interest, whether it's how they post on social, how they create their, create their offers, how they market, and all the various pieces. We do mindset training, we do, all kinds of things inside the syndicate. But I sell to the people who have shown intent and say, I've got a problem and I'm looking for a solution to that, and I'm prepared to put $100 down or whatever that may be. Come along and get some insight. So it's a highly efficient model. It means that 17% of the people on my email list have bought something from me, and have actually given me money between $10 and $100,000. And it's a highly efficient model because I only really sell to people who have displayed intent. So I don't spend a lot of time selling and nurturing and chasing or anything like that. I'm predominantly selling customers.
Yeah, gotcha. And so with the book, I know that's kind of like a in-between area because it's like such a low ticket entry level kind of thing. Would you still consider the book, because you're charging for it, a customer offer?
Yes. Yeah. I was transitioning corporate entities recently. And so, I had an old Stripe account and now I've got a new one. When I stopped doing the old one, I looked, I was like, how many customers has this generated? And it was about 9,500, right? and that was literally at amounts between, I don't know what, I'm pretty sure I sold the old book for as low as $2.99 when I started the Daily Client Machine. So there were probably 1,000 people in there at $2.99. And then there were a few people in there at 150,000 in terms of, kind of lifetime value.
Yeah.
But cool. On the internet, the act of getting your card out and putting it in and buying something is the same whether it's $2 or $2,000, right? And I take that intent that someone has seriously. Because if we think about what's happening on the other side of a screen, there's someone there who's getting a card out, they're making consideration, they're looking at the logistics or the terms and conditions or all the things that you need to look at in terms of a purchase, and they're making the purchase. And that's a demonstration that that person wants something or feels they need something. And if we lean into that, and we're curious about that act, then there is usually a story to tell on the other side. And that doesn't matter whether it's $1 or $100,000. Obviously, there's a spectrum, of how deep and valuable the problem is relevant, is relative to the person who, is experiencing it. But I take purchasing very seriously. If someone gives me $10, I want to give them the best experience I can and the most relevant thing for $10, and I want them to get multiples of value for that. Just the same as someone who gives me 100,000. What I do for them and how easy it is for them and the value I deliver are going to be quite different. Yeah. But I take the purchase seriously because it's a demonstration of intent of someone on the other side. And I think on the internet, we forget that there are humans on the other side of the screen and in these things called audiences, because there's actually an individual there who wants something or is signaling they want something. And if we're curious about that and we tune into it, there's a lot of opportunity there to meet them where they are and potentially offer them a solution to that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think so many people will get a customer and just like they become dead to the world. Like they just don't follow up. They don't do any effort, to give them a good experience. It's almost like they take their money and run in a way. But it's, certainly, people are making those buying decisions because they want, in most cases, a problem solved that they're going through.
Yeah. And if we think about take Facebook lead ads, for example, right? You can have a lead ad where you send someone to a lead form, and you can have a lead ad where you send someone to an opt-in page. Just the friction difference in that, the ad looks the same, but the experience is different. Just the friction difference in that, over my experience, they generate completely different quality of leads, right? Yep. So the more friction there is in someone doing something, the more we should be curious about why they're doing it. Because behind intent is motivation. And if we're very curious about why someone's doing something and taking an actual act rather than saying they're going to do something, then I've found there's a lot of value there.
One of the cool things I like about your model specifically, and this is the hybrid offer model, is essentially you maximize effort where possible. So like all of, we spoke about creating customers, but what you kind of didn't say was that, the workshops and the effort that you put into those customer generating offers is all stuff that you do for your clients anyway. So it's like you're basically just marketing and maximizing the efforts you're going to put out into the world regardless. And if people want to buy it, they want to get the value from that, then that's their choice. And it still makes your delivery and fulfillment as simple as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I've coached and consulted to thousands of people, right? And it took me quite a while to realize that in every interaction I had with someone, I was potentially creating an asset, And over time, I realized that every conversation I had, whether it was one-on-one or in a group or, maybe doing some work for a client when they weren't there, whether that's, I did a lot of corporate consulting back in the day as well, is asset creation. And I think that thinking has just continued into the model now where everything I do, I'm like, what do clients need right now? Where are gaps, where are holes, where are opportunities, what's seasonal? We're in the Northern Hemisphere summer now. There's a lull, and clients tend to pause. They want cash. Okay, let's do it. Let's do a workshop around, cash generating activities in summer. And I do something similar at Christmas, etc. And then it just so happens that the same needs that my clients have are also in the wider marketplace and a customer base. So if I look at and pay attention to the needs of my clients and, be there where they are and meet them where they are, then I produce high-performing assets because I produce high-performing products that lots of other people buy. And if they like them, they become clients. So it is just a natural flywheel that most people don't take advantage of because in the knowledge economy, a lot of people are producing stuff every day. They just don't see them as assets. They just see them as work. Whereas I see the work and the creativity and the help and the interaction, the value delivery as asset creation. And sometimes those assets, in all cases, the assets that are produced are much more valuable than they seem, just on the surface.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing I, heard you say, and I'm not sure if it was in Stride on one of the workshops that you were doing, was that you use the revenue you generate from customer offers to fund acquisition of new leads and new customers as well. And it's like almost like play money for you.
Yeah. I see I'm to the point where my customer offers generate more revenue than I can and need to spend, and there's been many months where, just selling one-time offers, between kind of 100 and, I've gone up to kind of 1,200, for kind of front-end one-time offers for like courses or workshops to be more specific, generates in excess of $50,000. I didn't spend 50 grand on ads in that particular month and pour it back in, but I would if I had a vehicle that justified it. So I found doing this for a decade, the ease and the wealth and those things are created over time. I have a very high level, I have a very, very high proportion of recurring revenue in my business. So it's very predictable. So I can use the front end to find more people who will, the front end cash to find more people who will give me money for a longer period of time and me be valuable to them for a long period of time. And they be valuable to me for a long period of time as well. So, and when the numbers prove out, something like a book funnel or any funnel or thing, I'm quite prepared to go negative because I know the people who are coming through that are highly valuable to me. So I'm quite happy to spend more on acquiring customers than I actually derive from customers, because the more I spend there, the better quality of client I get.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that leads us pretty well into, you've launched your Sovereign Consultant book organically, mainly to list and to your audiences on social.
Yeah.
How has that been in terms of a customer generating offer? Have you just found that people who are already fans?
Super strong. I think for two reasons, because it's a how-to book and it gives, context to a lot more stuff, because the meta of my model is that, as I said, I teach what I do and do what I teach. Mm-hmm. So it gives someone that 1,000-foot view of everything to kind of maybe put some pieces together that they didn't do now. And the second piece is, generating a ton more customers off my list. It's massively spiked the number of overall customers I had and spiked that total attention time. So more people, with the upsells that we've put in there, more people are spending more time with me, digitally than they ever have before. and subsequently the ease of me converting those people into clients, for the community or the syndicate, has never been easier. So, I got the stats out before. So 565 books sold. We've got a $200 upsell in the funnel. We've got a $35 bump as well, and a $100 downsell. So the upsell rate, there's the social code and the 3K code training. So the upsell rate is about a 10% take. 10%. So that means, 60 people are literally getting about 12 hours of training and resources and spending time, with me. And the downsell rate's, like 30 odd people that. So in terms of and 25 grand in cash from stuff I already had to a list I already had, it's not, it's not the worst thing that's ever happened, right? With no ads, etc. But it also proves out, for me, it also proves out what we can expect from ads and what we can expect from scale. And the other two, the really nice factor is that there's a ton of people in my audience that have got a lot of goodwill to me, but can't pay me. Because I've become known as someone who can make pretty much any offer convert. So I have a lot of people selling non-standard stuff, not business coaching and not, stuff with tangible outcomes. So a lot of what I like is a lot of people got a lot of value from the book that wouldn't be able to do the other things I've got purely from a, access and affordability thing. So it's built a lot of goodwill with people because they're like, I love that I can get access to this for 10 and, $200, stuff that I don't have to pay thousands of dollars for because I don't have that now. And in many cases, they're not likely to have that. So it both spiked the goodwill, but also, spiked the number of people who understand that this business model is about building a life and, that is a model to feed a life. And they get that context in a much more condensed way than they can just by, reading my emails every day or following me on social media. I run a business to feed my life. I don't live to feed my business. It just so happens that I have high standards and high expectations, and I need a business that meets my high expectations for my life, both in the amount of free time I have and the things I've got access to.
I think that the cool thing with a book versus, your workshops, and you're always doing more workshops anyway, but the cool thing about that is it's a more evergreen, recurring asset for you to continuously market without having to chop and change. And it's you could always continue to market a workshop consistently, on a really good topic. Maybe we find the number one, one to market, like the hybrid offer or the social code or something like that, which are, the upsells in the book funnel. But, to get an overview and access to a whole system around building a, 3-day-a-week business that can generate hundreds of thousands a month for you, for just $10 in this really nicely packed asset that doesn't have any fluff or anything like that. It's just 70 pages of straight, let's go. I just think that that's such an irresistible offer to continuously put out there into the market.
Yeah. I think these type of books, I teach and do the fundamentals. So I can evergreen means a lot more to me than maybe people who are a bit more fad driven or, fly by night, because there'll only be small variations and improvements and innovations as I go along, because it's the basics, really. It's just the basics well put together and executed in the simplest possible way. So it means that I don't need that many books. I could probably produce a book every month. If you took all my net production, talking and videos and Google Docs, there's easily a book there every month. But, having something that's based on not only the strategy, but, the philosophy and the principles is very evergreen, because my principles don't change. My overall philosophy doesn't change, very quickly at all. And the strategy is it adapts and it finds faster ways, but it's just refinement rather than, complete sea change. So it is truly evergreen in the sense that it's an asset that will last a really long time. And it's got lots of flexibility with it. And they're the best kind of assets, right? They're the most efficient ones. If you're talking about TikTok shops because it's the hottest thing and then it's not, the next month, then your book's going to be a lot of work for, a relatively short window of time. So I think evergreen books, and especially how-to books, have got a lot more relevance for people who are doing things that are, have a little bit more legacy and long term, because they do a really automatic job of cross-selling as well. And cross-selling things is, a great business strategy. Get, the 3 ways to grow a business, right? One of them is, selling more to, the same customer. And books and book funnels kind of naturally do a lot of that. So they do a lot of heavy lifting, on lots of fronts in terms of a smart strategy.
Yeah. And the method of delivery as well is, even if something does change slightly or the model changes in some capacity, which I don't think it will, I think you've got it down to nuts and bolts really well anyway. But because you're doing just like, hey, here's a digital book, it's so simple to just like revise that. And it's not like you have to go fucking publish it on Amazon again or any of that crap. It's just like, I'll just update the book and you'll get a new copy of the book, like easy.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's also a great way to over deliver. On the book, you probably don't even know this, but on the book download page, I've added 2, essentially bonus assets that aren't even mentioned anywhere in the funnel. We haven't bothered to put them in there. There's just like, hey, this is cool and it's pretty useful if you've got the book. Why don't you use this, right? And that was, and we emailed the buyers and said, hey, there's some new stuff I'm just going to give you, right?
Yeah.
And that's cool. You can give people more value than they anticipated. And you can also give people more value and ongoing value than they anticipated, because digital delivery allows us that flexibility. So yeah, it's great.
And you have to go buy the book to find out what those 2 bonuses were.
I can remember one of them, but I'm rather prolific, so I forget what I've put out there immediately after it until someone comes back and asks me to get some help with it.
Oh, that's right, I made that.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, who made this? Oh, it was me.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Cool, man. Well, so what's next for the book and marketing the book?
Yeah, I think it needs to prove itself to, a paid and cold audience, and, the cynical people who live in, the comments of Facebook ads will be forever impressive and entertaining. And I think in terms of pushing the book as a medium to see how much I can add to it in terms of value, and how, I see books as dynamic, like I said, adding pieces to it that are holistic, and then pushing what it can do in terms of the back end. Like the strategy here is super simple, that I get someone to buy the book, I give them a ton of training for, not much money. I spend a ton of time with them, and then I ask them if they want some more help, right? And then I offer that to be as accessible as possible. And that automatic way to generate clients is pretty unrivaled, because if someone's bought my book, watched the trainings, consumed them, probably started to executing on it, then the natural next thing is like, do you want some help with that? Which is the question for coaches and consultants. If there's someone's in motion and you've got, greater domain expertise, or you've got the shortcuts for them, then do you want some help with that? So I think really testing it as something that can, dare I say it, generate clients on autopilot in terms of, refining the back end. So I can just get someone coming into my inbox and saying, I'm ready, and readiness could be them going through that, over days, weeks, and months if needed, and to be ready to work with me. And then, that's the proof in the pudding. It's not just selling more books. It's, what value does the book deliver to people that's obvious to them, so they can come to their own conclusions. And, at what scale can that do? Because I've got a pretty unique model. It's, of the times right now, a lot of people are looking to, get much leaner in their businesses, and a lot of people are burnt out on models that they've been using for a long time. And there's not many people out there giving them the full context of why this is good and why it matters. And so the book will do a lot of heavy lifting on, why, a one-person consulting business is the model of the times, and could be the best lifestyle and wealth choice for a lot of people now and in the future.
And it's funny you say that, because like I've been seeing more and more, and actually screenshotted a ad that I saw today and sent it to James, but I've been seeing more and more people in the marketplace going, Oh man, I've like fired pretty much all my team, down $60,000 a month in expenses that were pretty much all team based. And the more I see that and pop into James's community, the more I see those people in there as well. And I'm just like, the model is just like replicating itself out into the marketplace, and it's cool to see it popping up more and more.
Yeah. I think people need to remember that I invented like most things, right? I invented online programs like the internet,
Yep.
weekly payments, money. So I am the origin source of those, and everyone else is copying me. No matter
Yeah.
what.
Marketing god over here. Well, sir, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. Where can people find the book?
thesovereignconsultant.com. Beautiful sales funnel. It's elegant and effective.
Cool.
Produced by a guy called Chris. I'll
Okay.
introduce you guys
Cool.
one
Be a
day.
pleasure.
And it's amazing work, and it no, all credit to you as well, because it is. I've done both of those things before. I've built a beautiful sales funnel that was dog shit in terms of converting, and I've built a really ugly one that was amazing. So to be able to do both, I think is a great talent. I'm thankful to have you on my squad.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure, dude. And I'm glad I lived up to some level of expectations as well. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show, dude. It's been a pleasure. And I'll make sure that the Sovereign Consultant book is linked up in the description for everyone. Damn, what an awesome episode. If you've got a book that you're advertising or not yet advertising, and you want some book marketing advice directly from me, I'd love to set up a book marketing review with you. It's basically a 30-minute consulting session that you can get for free, worth $1,000, where we can basically dive right into everything that you're currently doing or not doing, and everything that you could do to sell as many books as possible according to your goals. So if you want to sell 100 books a month, 1,000 books a month, or anything in between, we can really help you outline a strategy to help you get there. To book your session with me, just click the link in the description below, smartauthormedia.com/chat, and you'll be able to book a time that suits you to go through everything with me so that we can help you sell some more books starting today. Look forward to speaking to you on the call.